This tutorial will show you a few of the things that you can do with Geogebra. So you would start by going to the website www.geogebra, spelled this way, .org. Make sure you end with .org. You'll get this home screen. You want to start by clicking on this Start Geogebra button. And then, since we're going to look at some geometry applications, you would click on the Geometry button there. That brings you up this kind of blank canvas here. Up in the upper left are some buttons. The far left button is just an arrow. That's your select tool. It's going to allow us to move things around. Then we have a point tool. There will be a few different options there. A line tool, some special kinds of lines. Those will be the four buttons we use the most today. And then we'll look at also how we can label some things. So let's get started. Let's decide to draw a parallelogram, say. I'm going to start by putting a couple points on the canvas. It'll just be two of the corners of my parallelogram. And then I want to make a segment between them. So I click on this third button from the left, which allows me to choose between line or segment or a couple other things. I want segment. So at the bottom there's a gray box that tells me I need to select 2 points. So I will do that, and it makes a segment between them. So we'll say that's one side of my parallelogram. And then to make an opposite side, I need to start by identifying another corner. So again, I'm going to pick this point here and put a point. That'll be a corner on the opposite side. Now, since I want it to be a parallelogram, I'm going to now go to this fourth button from the left. That the picture looks like 2 perpendicular lines, but it also has as an option that it will draw me a parallel line. So when I select parallel line, let me do this again, you'll see there's a gray box at the bottom and it says select point and parallel line. So in other words, I need to tell it a point that's going to be on my new line, and I need to tell it what line it's going to be parallel to. So I'll pick this segment here. Now it gives me this infinitely long line, which is the only option. We'll look at how we can pretty that up a little bit later. So now we've got 2 parallel lines. And in fact, I'm going to go back to my arrow key, this far left button, and show you how if I move that original segment, that this new line is in fact going to remain parallel to it. We defined it that way, and so GeoGebra makes sure it retains that. Okay, I want an actual parallelogram though, so I want to make a segment between these 2 points. So I'm going to go to this segment button again, and I have to select 2 points, so there's that side. And then I want this opposite side to be parallel to this side, so I'm going to go to that fourth button from the left and again pick parallel line. This time I'm going to select that the line should go through this point and be parallel to this segment here. So now I've got a parallelogram. Again, let's just move it around. So far left button, move. See how it looks like it's remaining that parallelogram shape. Now it would be nice to also have an intersection point right up here where these 2 sides meet. So we'll go back to the point menu, second button from the left, click on that, and you'll see that if you go down to the fourth option, it says intersect. And the gray box tells us we can either select 2 objects or we can click directly on the intersection. So I can either select this line, that will give me the point, or I could have gone directly to that intersection, and you see both of the lines get bold. So that's going to give me a point now right at the point where those 2 lines cross. So now click in the white, click on the arrow. I have a parallelogram that's actually got vertices at all 4 corners. I can even get labels for these vertices. That requires that I go to this far right button and go down to the 5th item. It says show hide label. Right now they're hidden. I want to show the labels, so I'm going to click on a point and it will tell me what the label is. It tells me that point is A, because it was the first thing that I created. I'm going to use the arrow key to move the label a little bit. There we go. Okay. Go back to show hide labels. I'm going to click up here. You'll see this is not point B because it was not the second point I created, so it's C. This one over here is B, and this one here is D. And again, I can just move those labels so they're not buried behind lines. Okay, so now my parallelogram has a name, A, C, D, B, or whatever order you want to name those vertices in. Now I mentioned that we could maybe make this a little prettier. And the way we can do that is to replace BD with a segment and CD with a segment, and then we can hide the lines. So let's see how we would do that. Go back to the segment tool, pick segment, it says select 2 points. I'm going to put a segment between C and D, and then again a segment between D and B. Okay, so now I'm going to try and hide those lines. So go to that far right button again. This time I want to go to the 4th line where it says show hide object, and I want to hide this line and this line. Okay, hide, go away. Oh, switch to another tool. Excuse me. See how the gray box gives you ideas? Okay, I switched to my move tool, and that completed the task I had requested, that it hide the actual parallel lines, and it just leaves me with these segments. Now, however, since these points C, D, and B were defined to be on those parallel lines, when I move point A around, I'm still going to have a parallelogram. It's going to still keep that definition that those opposite sides need to be parallel. So that can be useful. Think about some of the things that we were able to investigate about parallelograms. For instance, we can put some measures on here. This button is the 4th one from the right, and one of the options is that it can tell me the distance or length. If I select 2 points or a segment or a polygon or a circle, so here I'll select the segment, it tells me it's measure, select this segment, select the other 2 segments, and you'll see that those measures of the opposite sides are equal as we knew they would be. So those are the things that you can do with creating parallels and doing some measures and some labeling and some hiding, some of the basic tools that you might find useful when you're using GeoGebra.